Hi, and thank you for joining us today on The Road to Recovery. I'm Ronda Jackson, your host, serial entrepreneur, and small business advocate. And today joining us, we have Tracy Solomon Clark. Welcome back, Tracy, for joining us again today.
Thank you. Thank you, Ronda. We're excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. Your financial guruism and your credit, your credit worthiness, or at least creating that credit worthiness for us is why we're here today. And we're talking about pandemic fallout, the financial aftermath, and would love to, let me slow down. For those that do not know you, Tracy, and your expertise, will you tell us a little bit about your company and what you do?
Yes, I am with United Credit Education Services. We're a nonprofit organization who are focused on creating or showing people how to create their financial future wealth.
Okay.
We have an array of different products and things of that nature.
Oh, very good. And so thank you. And maybe we'll add some links to the description box below so that folks can kind of click and link up on some of the information that we'll share today. So we'll have that opportunity for them as well. One of the ways that I like to start the show is by asking guests for one word they would use to describe the now. What would your one word be?
My one word would be optimistic. Since our last conversation would be optimistic.
Okay.
The reason being for that is after reviewing a great deal of data and talking to countless people about what is happening to them and how they are feeling about it, I'm optimistic that we are, yes, in a crisis, but we don't have to see it as a crisis as long as we learn to do better. Okay. And I know that we're going to do better because we are in a time of opportunity.
I love that. I love that. And then they say when you know better, you do better. All right. And so one of those elements of recovery, we do focus on emerging and established entrepreneurs on this show. But a lot of us are personal guarantors to our business's credit profile, as well as, to our families and what we contribute to our households. So where would you say we should start the credit conversation as far as recovery, as the fallout and the aftermath has happened?
Well, as I always say, Rhonda, we want to get conscious. And I'm talking to a great deal of people about what's going on in their lives, and they're afraid. So you want to get conscious and reach out to people like myself about credit repair. Let's start with something we have control over. And so let's start with credit repair. Pull that credit report. Okay. And look at it and get with someone who could evaluate that in its entirety so you can see where you are and where you need to go, what you need to do to get to that particular place.
So what I love about companies like yours is that you actually help us decipher that information, right? Figure out where our strengths are in our reports. Like all is not lost. There are some things that we are as consumers doing correctly, but then other areas that we need to shore up. And so that's what part of what your analysis does. That's what you help.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So then once we have a handle and our arms around what our current state is and what, things that we need to do to improve that, how do we take that credit and access capital? How do we do that, especially after recovering,
Right. Once you recover.
Right.
Once you recover and you have that wonderful, perfect credit score for yourself, then one thing you want to do is you really want to look at creating that legacy for yourself and your children, if you have any, or your loved ones. And the best way to start that is just invest in some property, really. Wow. Invest in the home, purchase some home, purchase some investment property, things of that nature. You want to constantly keep your eye on your credit, but the quickest way to getting to a place where you have the most financial leverage would be purchasing a home, making a big purchase of that nature that has a long lasting, that is really your legacy to your family and so on and so forth. Okay. So I would start with that. Now there are other ways that people look at, some people don't want to own a home, so they go out and get some investment property.
Okay, all right. Yeah. So we're repairing our credit, or restoring, I like that word, restoring our credit back to, credit worthiness in whatever sectors that our lives are in. But then we're also, you're saying we're adding assets to our portfolio. So now if we didn't have it before, your recommendation is to add that asset. And I like how you covered it in the word legacy, an asset that lives well beyond your generation and can move into others to create, what's our magic word? Generational
wealth.
Yes.
Absolutely. Love it.
Yes, not just for today. So then, okay, so I like that. But then you were starting to tell us something about leveraging those assets. So what does that do? So we have the credit restoration. We have this new asset in our portfolio. What does that do for us, like looking ahead?
Well, first of all, once you get your credit to where it is and you amass that kind of project with that amount of money behind it, that gives you an opportunity to leverage more.
Okay.
Even having high-end credit cards, if they're managed correctly, you can use that. You can use the equity from your home, or you can go out and get other lines of credit for businesses. Because that's the other thing that I wanted to say. You don't just want to purchase. You want to make sure that your income comes in as well, so that you can maintain those items. So I'm a very big believer of multiple streams of income.
Yes.
So I would also recommend that, as while you're doing that, you're also finding out ways that you can get your, they call it the gig society now that we're in.
Yeah.
We have all these gigs that we're doing. So find that another gig, and you want to make sure that your income looks like the property and things that your assets, you can afford them. Because if you can't afford them, that's going to create a triple down effect later on. So then when you talk about using those items to leverage, set your sights on what it is that you want first, of course, and then one good credit begets more and more credit. And so it's a balancing act, if you will. You want to make sure that everything is balanced out correctly. There's an income, a flow of income as well.
Okay, so we've got credit restored, we've got an asset, and now we're leveraging the asset and the credit to create income generating opportunities.
Absolutely.
That was like the summation of right, the mad scientists. This is how we're doing this. Okay, so let's go back, because I now have a couple of follow-up questions. One, sure. So if someone is looking just to kind of map out what this journey looks like, what's the best way to contact you? So that was my first question.
Sure. Well, you can text me or email me as well.
Just one comment, and we'll add the rest down below.
One comment? Sure. The best way to reach out to me is on IG, and that is at Tracy, TracySolomon Clark, CLARK.
Tracy Solomon Clark on Instagram. Okay, we got that one. And then second, I know that you kind of gave us this overall long-term plan, but what's one actionable thing that every person that watches this video should stop and do today?
Pull that credit report.
Okay.
Pull that credit report. That's the basics.
Okay.
Of pulling your credit report. And I know I have emphasis on that, but pull that credit report. And then reach out to me, because I'm going to show you a few more things about budgeting, because your budgeting is your planning document. Reach out to me. I can show you how to do all of that. But pull your credit report. Okay. Let me analyze it.
And then at the end of all that, I'm going to make step 3, go back to being optimistic, like you said in the beginning of the video. I think that's what's going to be great. Okay, so no, thank you, Tracy, for your expertise, for your knowledge base, and for, for that holistic view at what our credit and the opportunities that it would afford us once we've restored it, once we've gotten ourselves back on track as we continue on the road to recovery. So thank you for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'd love to share.
Thank you.